In this video, I'm going to be building a $775 gaming PC. This PC will be for sale on our website for that price. I will leave a link down in the description below if you guys are interested in buying it. But with that out of the way, let's get into the build. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of all the parts. I went with the Asus Prime B360M-A motherboard. This is a micro ATX board, and while this board is a little bit more on the budget side, it still offers some nice things such as RGB headers and USB Type-C. That board will pair perfectly with the CPU, which is the i3-9100F, and while this is not the newest i3, it still has 4 cores and 4 threads, which will give us decent performance in games and multi-core tasks. And for RAM, I went with a quad channel set of 16 gigabytes, DDR4 2666 megahertz speed, and while this is not the fastest RAM, we are running a more budget low-end CPU here, so if you did want to squeeze a little bit more performance out of that CPU, you could go with something like 3200 megahertz, although I'm not sure you would notice much of a performance boost there. I'm throwing in a U-bit Wi-Fi card here just to add Wi-Fi to this whole system. For our boot drive, I went with a Kingston 120 gigabyte SSD. Smaller storage, but this is what I'm going to just pretty much install the OS, and you can have some other files on there as well. And for our main drive, for like games and things, I'm going with a little bit of a smaller drive since this is more of a budget build. So I went with a Hitachi 320 gigabyte hard drive here. This is a laptop drive, so I do like these laptop drives just because they're a little bit easier to fit in the case. That way you have more room for your power supply, so you can take the power supply cage out and just install one of these in the SSD slots. For the cooler for our CPU, this might be a little overkill for the CPU, but it will stay nice and cool so that it doesn't thermal throttle, and we'll be able to maximize its potential. So I went with the Arctic Freezer 34 Esports Duo cooler. These CPU coolers from Arctic are really awesome. I've been using them for a while, and their performance never disappoints. For the power supply, I went with the Gamidas Kratos M1 550B 80 plus bronze. This is RGB as well, and because of that 80 plus rating, 550 watts, you should be able to get some decent performance out of that, and a little bit of upgradability in the future if you want to upgrade, say, your GPU or CPU. For the GPU, I went with the MSI AMD Radeon RX 6500 XT, which has 4 gigabytes of VRAM and is a very nice pairing with our i3-9100F. And then all of this is going inside the Montech AirX ARGB case, which is it's a little bit of a smaller side of an ATX case, which will fit our micro ATX motherboard nicely and should look very nice with our system. So with all that out of the way, let's get into this build. So now that I've got the whole PC put together, it's time to test out the performance. So guys, I'm just quickly running a Call of Duty benchmark. I'm on 1080p. I've got a mix of medium-high settings here. No ray tracing, obviously. This card is set up for ray tracing, but with only 4 gigabytes of VRAM, it wouldn't go so well. Ray tracing does require a lot of VRAM, so... but even so, we're getting pretty decent FPS on our high settings here. You could drop this down to medium and get a little bit of a higher frame rate. But right now we're averaging about 50 FPS, and it's looking pretty good so far. It does dip down into the low 40s, but if you go like in the more open areas, but if you go into like a room like this, it definitely gets a lot higher and gets into those 50s and 60s. But like I said, you could drop the settings down to like a medium or something and easily hit your 60 FPS target, if not more. So honestly, really impressed with the performance of this thing. Everything looks really good. The temps are really, really good for this little PC, and it is a very, very solid budget gaming PC. So guys, overall, I'm really happy with the way this build turned out. If you guys are interested in buying this PC, make sure to go check it out on our website and eBay store. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below if you guys are interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.